Hello, and thanks for watching BSGcast. He's Matt, I'm Nat, and let's get started.
Well, this is it, guys. The finale. Yeah, it's been a long trip so far.
Crazy cliffhanger.
That rocket ship to the end. Personally, I kind of think the rocket ship happened like in the last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the last 4 episodes.
No, not at all.
But
last 40 minutes. For me, it was even less than that.
yeah, it was just brutal. The ending, very happy with it. Gata.
Okay, seriously, I was
So disappointed in Gata.
Like, Gata's been this great stand-up guy, like, knows what's right, he stands up for what's right, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere...
He perjures himself on the stand. Brutal. I couldn't believe that
I couldn't
happened.
believe it either.
But Lee kind of made up for it on the testimonial of his own. Because, wow.
His testimony was amazing.
Yeah, the guy grew balls right then and there before our very eyes.
For a guy that we were saying was kind of a wuss and didn't know where he was and was kind of lost and all that, he did an amazing job. He was so convincing and his arguments were so good.
Yeah, although, again, just like in Season 2, when he refused to speak out against his father in the home storyline, he wouldn't testify against his father per se, but he did take the stand and have some very powerful things to say about the entire show, like the history of Battlestar Galactica. He went through and talked about how everyone was deserving of forgiveness but Baltar.
Yeah. And it all kind of played into the one characteristic that has always remained strong with him is his honesty.
Yep.
And that's something that has always come up when it comes to talking about Lee and...
His moral compass, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they were a little too forgiving because they let him take a Viper and he was a non-commissioned officer. Like, he was just wandering
around. That's
around.
awesome. Just like I had mentioned before, I was hoping he'd get back into the whole army thing.
And he pulls the Superman
back.
thing, undoes his shirt, and off he goes. Yeah, a little silly. But you know what? It was a good thing he did because if he didn't go out there, he wouldn't have seen Starbuck. So if you're like me, you were chanting Starbuck's name from the moment Apollo had a bogey on his 10 because that just had
Pretty
to be
much,
Starbuck.
yeah.
It had to be Starbuck.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there she was.
How? Why?
That's the question.
What the heck?
Now,
Who knows?
To be fair, we saw Starbuck's Viper explode, but we didn't see Starbuck herself incinerated. So
I think from that, though, it was pretty safe to assume that she was dead.
that she physically died.
Yeah.
So did she what? Resurrect?
I don't know. Lee saw her, in a new Viper.
Yeah, and I mean we haven't. It's not unprecedented.
And she could somehow communicate with him through their little headpiece communication stuff.
And it's not unprecedented for Cylons to have captured vessels. They've had captured Raptors in the past. They've had at least 2. So they could have had a captured Viper. Maybe she resurrected and showed up on a Cylon ship. But how, unless they had Kara Thrace bodies on the Cylon ship?
Maybe in their resurrection-based star thing, they don't have any. There are certain rooms that they don't go into or didn't know about or something quite stupid like that. Because that would make no sense.
Yeah, if she resurrected on a Cylon ship, it just wouldn't.
I
work
just
for
don't
me.
think it's possible.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy it. So I think that she wasn't really there.
Basically, she's a head Starbuck for Apollo.
I think Apollo's got Starbuck in her head.
That's
in his
the
head
idea.
now.
She doesn't really. She's not physically there. She doesn't really exist. It's all in his head.
Yeah. So that would make sense on every level. And it would give a reason why she's still cast in the show.
Right.
Because she'll exist.
Right.
But it begs the question, if she really went to Earth, does that mean she's another angel in the way that Six has claimed to be an angel for Baltar? Has she actually done these things? Is she the goddess Aurora?
Oh, right.
Like, what is she exactly? Because she's definitely fulfilling her role as the goddess Aurora.
As the goddess Aurora, like, leading her people to Earth, right.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But
like, if she is a head Starbuck, then she's not really leading them. It's going to be Apollo leading them to Earth. Because he's the only one that can see her, if that's the case.
9 months. 9 months. And we also have 9 months to ponder the meaning of All Along the Watchtower. Kind of weird. This is the first time we've had modern music thrown at us. I mean, we've had some funky guitar now and again, but we just had a Bob Dylan song thrown at us. Bear McCready, the composer who's been doing Battlestar Galactica for a while now, spoke to Ronald D. Moore about, what exactly am I doing a Bob Dylan song? And Ronald D. Moore said, you're not covering a Bob Dylan song. This has to sound like someone in the colonies wrote a song by tapping into the same creative ether that Bob Dylan did.
Basically, a parallel universe Bob Dylan is the idea here.
Yeah, that it's not a cover.
Simply.
We're not hearing a song from Earth. We're hearing a song from the Colonies that happens to also sound like a song from Earth.
that we know in our universe.
Yeah. Now, it makes you ask, why All Along the Watchtower? Aside from the fact that Ronald D. Moore is a big Hendrix fan, why All Along the Watchtower? They've been talking about Dr. Robert and A Day in the Life. They've been doing Beatles things. Why not Hey Jude?
Yeah.
Why was it All Along the Watchtower? The lyrics are apocalyptic.
Yeah.
I don't know if it matters, but if you read the lyrics
In
line by
reverse
line
order.
backwards,
Yeah.
it makes more logical sense. And yeah, you get imagery of watchtowers, you get things that just are straight out of the Bible, which is what Bob Dylan was reading at the time of writing that. So there's definitely some rapture, end of the world stuff happening in that song. Now, Ronald D. Moore wanted to use some Hendrix at the end of season 1 in the Cobalt's Last Gleaming storyline, to have him in the Baltar in the opera house with some driving Hendrix, and it sounded like a joke in the podcast, but
I think that would have, I don't know if there would have been relevance in the fact that it was Hendrix, so clearly not, since he didn't use it.
it wouldn't have made any
But
sense
I think
at
it's
the
just
time.
personal preference.
Yeah, it was an idea that was sitting with him for a while, because 2 years later,
Here
we are. The writing was great, because they managed to incorporate All Along the Watchtower into the lines of the characters, and more often than not, it sounded like it made some sense.
Yeah, for sure.
When Anders, my favorite one was when Anders was talking to the chief, and then Racetrack comes in and is like, hey, come on.
You need a fracking invitation?
And then he's like, yeah, no reason to get excited. It was just like perfect. Excellent use of an excerpt from the song. And I mean, if you watch it a second time, you'll notice it, but the first time through, it's so natural. It just felt really good.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
Well, I watched it a couple times.
I haven't been listening to the song like 20 times a day like Matt has, though.
Yeah, I've already made an audio dub of that part of the song, and it's on my iPod now. So until August 2007, when the soundtrack comes out, I'm going to be listening to that. So there we go.
Anyway, speaking of Anders, that leads us to the final 5.
Or at least 4 of the final 5.
Yeah.
4/5 of the final 5. We were really all expecting 5.
5.
And we got 4. Now, the
Oh,
question
you
is...
people that apparently had spoilers.
Yeah, where's the 5th? Come on. Now, did they cause the power failure? Because the moment...
I believe they did.
Yeah, the moment they started coming to a realization of what was going on,
It must
the
have
power
been,
went
yeah,
out.
like as soon as they landed into, what was it, the Ionian?
In the nebula. They call it Ionian.
Yeah,
but
the Ionian Nebula. That's when they started realizing stuff, and that's when the outage happened.
And the moment the power came back on was when
they
Chief
kind of
Tyrrell
came
admitted
to
we're all
terms
Cylons. Exactly.
with what they thought they were.
So yeah, was it their fault? I mean, it's interesting. We've got 4 characters who are all very anti-Cylon. Ty fought in the Resistance. He's been through 2 wars. Anders has started essentially 2 different Resistance.
Yeah.
And you know, he's basically a perfect example of a character who hates through and through Cylons. We've got Chief Tyrrell in pretty much the same situation.
Ringleader
of
for
the
New
Caprica Resistance, at least. And it kind of makes sense now why it was that he found the temple on the Eye of Jupiter.
Although you did mention how, you know, Anders was there too, so why didn't he sense the temple?
That's a little weird.
My assumption is possibly the Final 5 have different roles. Maybe Tyrrell is like the spiritual Final 5 member.
Yeah, but it is a bit disappointing that that 2 of them were there and only one of them was in any way affected by it being there. Now beyond that, Tori, she was involved in the New Caprica Resistance as well. Yeah. I think she's the weakest link, personally. She's just been shown to us at the end of season 2.
Really, it feels like last minute, Ronald D. Moore's like, let's just make this character a little more important. Oh, let's give her a little bit of development in the last like couple
2
of
episodes, and then we'll make her a Cylon.
she's one of the Final 5.
Yeah. Kind of the weak one. Personally, I wish if Billy was alive, he was the Cylon, because, I mean, honestly, if he hadn't gone off on that pilot that the actor wanted to shoot, he could have been in the show. He might have been the Cylon.
Maybe it's not the person that's important, but the role that they play within the society. So, like, Rosalind's
aide is a Cylon.
The Cylon.
Maybe. Now, Ronald D. Moore has said that these are very different kinds of Cylon. Not like when Boomer was revealed to be a Cylon and she was sabotaging the ship.
Yeah.
They're not planted in the way that Doral and Deanna and Leoben and Boomer and Cavil, these guys were planted for a reason. These Cylons appear to have been there a lot longer. They predate the 2-year insurgence that we seem to be noticing.
Well, the thing that I find interesting that we've been discussing, just haven't really come to a conclusion on, is the fact that these 4 were one of the last. Like, how did they survive? How did they survive the attack?